Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Create a Marketing Strategy that Works for Your Business in 2026, brought to you by FSB and Nikki Hutchison. My name's Karen Woolley, and I'll be your host for the next 60 minutes, and I'm delighted to be joined today by expert marketeer and agency owner, Nikki, who'll be sharing her insights and experience on such a valuable topic. In today's session, we're going to cover how to transform your marketing approach, why integrated marketing matters, and a step-by-step strategic planning for 2026. Please do use the Q&A button to send over your questions. We'll aim to answer as many as we can during the session, including those submitted in advance. This session is being recorded and will be available shortly on our on-demand page of the FSB website in case you'd like to watch it again. However, everybody registered will receive an email with the recording link and any resources that are mentioned today. For those of you who haven't come across the FSB before, we're a membership organisation representing around 150,000 members across the entire UK. We lobby on behalf of members and other small businesses on issues of importance to them, as well as providing a robust suite of member benefits, which range from 24/7 legal, tax and VAT advice, insurance coverage for investigations for tax and legal actions, HR support and resources, a legal hub containing in excess of 1,500 documents and resources which are kept continuously up to date by our legal experts, payments if you or your staff are called for jury service, free business banking options, a thorough business insurance service, funding for business, advice, and much, much more. So please do take a few moments to have a little look at the FSB website at fsb.org.uk, but the link will be sent to you with the post-event email. Now, on to the main event. Creating a marketing plan, of course, we know is very important for any business, no matter what sector you're in, whether you're a freelancer searching for new clients or a growing manufacturing business launching a new product range. Getting clear on your goals is the key to successfully promoting your business. As I mentioned a moment ago, today I'm delighted to say that we're joined by expert marketer, online educator and agency owner, Nikki Hutchison, who has a deep understanding of how to market businesses, having spent over 25 years in the industry, including a degree, a postgraduate diploma, and many years working in agencies developing strategies for very well-known brands. Nikki has also grown 2 businesses of her own, so she completely understands the pressures and the challenges of being a small business owner and needing to increase that visibility, which will lead to sales and further leads. So I'm delighted to hand over to you. Nikki, over to you.
Hello, thank you so much for the intro, Karen. And it's lovely to see so many people have been able to join this morning. I am going to share my screen and I just want to make sure that everyone can see. So if you can't see the screen, let us know, but hopefully you can all see.
We can see that fine, Nikki.
Perfect, great, thank you. Okay, so as mentioned, we are going to talk about putting together a marketing strategy. Now, my background is as an agency strategist, but I've been a small business owner for the past 14 years. And what I find when it comes to small business marketing is that it can feel very, very overwhelming. So my approach is always to simplify things as much as possible. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to do a light touch. And I've got a couple of examples from my current business of a couple of campaigns that I've run to promote my offers. But it does mean that I want you to leave this session with an understanding that you do not have to do absolutely everything when it comes to marketing. In fact, it would be a waste of your time, energy, effort, and money to do so. So what I would love for you to get from today is the confidence to make some decisions about what you're going to do in terms of your marketing strategy for your business in 2026. Now, I've run, as well as working for many different brands in many different industries, I've run 2 of my own businesses, founded 2 of my own businesses in very different industries. My first was a kids hip hop dance company in 2012. And my second was my marketing company and agency in 2017. So both service-based businesses, but both very different audiences needing very different strategies. And we also have worked with product-based businesses in our agency and previously in my career. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I will answer those for you. One of the questions that I get asked often is, what is the difference between a marketing strategy and marketing tactics? And it is important to have both. So the way that I like to explain it is that your marketing strategy is your approach to achieving your goals, what you're going to do and why you're going to do it. Whereas your tactics are the activities and methods that you're going to use to get the results. So how are you actually going to generate the what and the why, essentially? So let's dig in first of all. If you're here, then we can safely assume that you already understand that you need a marketing strategy. Or maybe you're curious because you don't feel that you've had a strong one, or maybe you've already got one and you're looking for an update this year. So we won't spend too long on this section, but it is worth saying that your business success relies on marketing. I see lots of people treat marketing as an afterthought. It's very easy to get very excited about all of these things that we're going to deliver to people, whether that's products or services, and then to leave the how we're actually going to generate interest as a bit of an afterthought. So we're not going to take that approach. We are going to take a marketing first approach this year, but not just any old marketing. You need a strategy because you don't have time to waste and you need to approach marketing as efficiently as possible. I fully understand the pressures, time and energy wise and financial, that small business owners are under, and we don't want to waste any of that resource. I am assuming that if you're here, you want to take your small business to the next level, but you don't want to feel like marketing is taking over your life. And we can all safely say that we need, all of us, no matter what stage or age our business is at, you need to get more eyes on your business and convert more of them into leads and sales as quickly and efficiently as possible. Now, leads are potential customers and sales are actual customers. So we want to get people through that funnel. But it is worth acknowledging some pretty hard truths about small business marketing. Number one, when we're running a small business, we do not have a global marketing department. So we either have a small team or we are solopreneurs and we are wearing all of the hats ourselves. So as a small business in that situation, you cannot be everywhere online. Another hard truth about small business marketing is that you can't achieve growth without commitment. So that's what I mean when I talk about taking a marketing first approach. I want you to make some commitments to your business marketing today, because otherwise it will end up an afterthought and you won't achieve the results that you are intending to achieve this year. And another hard truth that we need to acknowledge is that it's going to take some time. Even if you've heard stories about small businesses, for example, creating a video that goes viral on TikTok, it's very, very unusual that that will lead to consistent monthly sales for an extended period of time. You're lucky, in fact, if a piece of content goes viral, if it turns into any sales at all. If it does, fantastic, but that's likely to be a short-term thing. So we need to be realistic and we need to understand that the marketing that we're doing is going to build in terms of results over time. So I've been running this business since 2017 and everything has been building since then. I am launching new offers this year. Everything will build on what I've already done marketing wise so that I can get those offers in front of the right people. So it doesn't matter where you're at in terms of your business, if it's day one, if it's you're 10 years in, it's still going to take time to get the results that you want. And that's okay because we're committed. All right, so are you ready? I hope you are. We are going to dive into how to create your small business marketing strategy. So first up, I want to cover 4 things that your marketing strategy must include. And again, I just want to reiterate, I like to simplify things. So this is a really simple approach, and I'm going to provide you with a couple of examples from my current business to demonstrate how this approach can be applied in real life. So, business objective, campaign objective, marketing tactics, and messaging. And I'm going to break those down. Where do we need to begin? Before you do any marketing at all, you need to define your current business objective. And again, something that I see quite often is people who are investing time and energy into maybe social media, they're showing up on LinkedIn every day, but they haven't actually thought about why they're doing that. They're just getting visible, and they're not thinking about how that is delivering against their business objective. Then we need to define your campaign objective. And when I talk about a campaign, you'll hear in online business, lots of people refer to these as launches. I use the term launch myself, but I actually prefer the term campaign because all that a launch is a focused marketing campaign over a distinct period of time that is designed to sell one thing. And it doesn't matter whether your business is seasonal. Like mine, I sell different things throughout the year, especially like mine when I had my kids' dance company, because that was dictated pretty much by the school terms and the holidays and things. It doesn't matter whether you have a business like that that's seasonal. Maybe you've got a product-based business where Q4 is the big one for you. It doesn't matter whether your business is seasonal or you're trying to sell the same thing year round. Sometimes that can feel harder if you're in that situation. I just had a question from a client yesterday who has a glamping company, and she was saying she wants to kind of develop seasonal campaigns, but she wasn't quite sure how to do it. So we talked about that. You still need to run different campaigns throughout the year. And it may be that you have a year-long campaign running, but it has specific events to generate that hype and that interest. Essentially, if you just talk about the same thing in the same way, on the same channels, in the same format every day for a year, it is going to be extremely difficult to attract enough attention to make the sales that you want to make. And we're going to come into that when we talk about messaging a bit more. So even if you're selling the same thing all year round, I want you to take away from this that you need to come up with different ways to sell that throughout the year to generate that interest that you need. If you do have seasonal things that you're selling, I think that's a little bit easier. And then we need to decide on your marketing tactics. So remember, we've got the overall strategy backed up by the tactics. So what marketing platforms, what channels, what methods are you going to use? And when are you going to use those in order to reach, engage, and convert your audience? And then we need to define your messaging strategy. Now, I try and steer away from jargon, and I do feel like messaging strategy is a little bit jargony, but this is basically what you're going to say. So what are the key things that you need to say in order to convert your audience, in order to find those leads and convert them into sales? How are we going to do that? What words are we going to use? What approach? What angle? All right, so I promise to keep this simple, and I don't want anybody to panic because we've got straight in with a very, very marketing focused approach. And probably that is not your background. Although I do work with lots of marketers as well, because marketing your own business is very different to marketing somebody else's business. But let me guide you through this. Every single time you want to market your business, I encourage you to ask yourself, why, what, where, and how. So these relate to your 4 steps. So your business objective. Why do I want to market my business? Yes, you want to generate revenue, but there could be other reasons as well. Your campaign objective. What am I going to make happen? So I want to market my business for this reason. This is what I want to achieve. And what am I going to make happen in order to achieve that? Then it's your marketing tactics. So where, those channels, those opportunities to get you or your business visible. Where are you going to achieve that? and your messaging. How am I going to get people interested? What am I going to say to people in order to capture their attention in such a busy world, online and offline? So I'm going to share an example from my business. These are the key steps that I went through and I go through regularly to sell my membership, the Marketing Insiders Club. And you can see up there, it's the doors are not open right now, but you can scan that link and I might sneak you in if you want to join, if you join the wait list. So Marketing Insiders Club, what was my business objective when I launched this in October? My business objective was to sell spaces in the membership. Okay, then I had to think, how was I going to do that? I needed to make a big noise to get people to understand that this was a new offering that I had for sale. So I decided that my campaign was going to focus on hosting a free online challenge and a masterclass, a bit like this one. So I ran a 3-day challenge, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It was backed up with a Facebook group. People were set tasks each day. They were encouraged inside the group to complete those tasks. And then we brought it all back together the following Monday, where I delivered a final masterclass, what to do next, and how I could help inside my membership. So I sold at that masterclass. So I needed to get people along to that challenge and that masterclass. Something that strikes fear into my heart is when people talk about a marketing event that they're going to host, but they haven't actually planned how they're going to get people along there. And this is where the hard work starts. So I think it's really fun to create things. So I had fun creating my membership. I had fun creating my plan to sell the membership. Then the hard work starts. And this is where you put your marketer hat on and you think, how can I get my campaign, my objective in front of as many people as humanly possible? So my first step was to get them along to the free challenge. And the way that we did that is we had a link and they signed up just like you've signed up for today. And then they would get the details of how to join the challenge. So ways that we did that was I have my own podcast. So on every episode for about a month in the lead up to that launch, I talked about the free challenge and I shared the link. I also did guest episodes on other people's podcasts. Guess what I shared? The link to sign up. So it went in their show notes. I booked guest experts to get involved in my challenge to make it even more exciting for people. I mentioned it on any live calls. So if this session had been prior to that launch, I would have been talking about that free challenge at the end of this session. Of course, I talked about it on social media, and I'm happy to answer questions about social media at the end. But another thing that strikes fear into my heart in 2026 is hearing business owners tell me that they plan to take a social media first approach. Social media is noisier than ever. You now have options to unsubscribe from ads on Facebook, for example. We need to be building our audience somewhere we can access them without being penalized by the algorithm. For example, your email list. It's also a great time in 2026 to spread the word, leveraging your existing network. So this is obviously a very specific example from my online business, but you can take this example and apply it to any business. We need to recruit other people to help us spread the word about our stuff. Now, we might do that from memberships that we're inside. We might have people in there who we've built relationships with. We might do it through business accelerators that we're in. We might have WhatsApp groups that are relevant. So I really encourage you to audit anywhere where you're part of a community. Yes, it will be your social media followers. So maybe it's on LinkedIn, maybe it's on Instagram, maybe you want to start an Instagram close friends list, for example. But I bet you've also got WhatsApp groups that you're in where your ideal customers for your campaign who can help you achieve your business objective exist as well. So examples from my business are that I have business friends who will share my challenges with their audience. So they'll send details out to their email list, for example. I also ask people to become ambassadors. So The launch that I'm talking about here was in October. We also did another launch for the membership in December, took the same approach, but we asked existing members at that point to become ambassadors. And then they are out there doing some of the heavy lifting for you on social media. And you're giving to them in return because you're giving them a shout out. About their business. So, for example, I did some video interviews with existing members, and those were shared live on my social channels. We want to do community outreach. What communities are we in where we can promote our stuff? We also want to do personal outreach, and this is something where I experience a lot of objections from people. So I just want to be really clear. I personally do not advocate cold DMing people. So I like nothing less than the number of spammy messages that I get, not only on LinkedIn now, but actually into my email now, sometimes in junk, but some of them sneak through. I don't think that's an effective way to market your business because I think that makes people cross. And making people cross when we want them to buy our stuff or join our campaign or whatever is not a great approach, not strategic. However, we can be really strategic about personal outreach, and we can do it in a way that people actually appreciate. So I'll give you another example from my business. I host an annual event called Adventures in Marketing. It's in Edinburgh on the 5th of February, adventuresinmarketing.uk if you want to check it out. And last year, we got to this time of the year, so it runs the first week in February every year. Last year, we got to this point in the year and we had only sold 50% of our tickets. So I run it with a co-host, my friend Abby, and she and I had been very busy in our individual businesses. So we hadn't given it the attention it needed to sell enough tickets. So we were kind of panicking, I won't lie. We were panicking at the beginning of January. And she was saying, oh, let's get things ready. Let's create the brochure for the event. Let's make sure that everyone has a really brilliant experience. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Customer experience, I see as part of your marketing because they're not going to come back if they don't have a good time. They're not going to give you those great testimonials and so on. Or they don't enjoy your products. It's got to be a brilliant experience. However, I said to her, right, we're going to get really strict with ourselves and we do nothing for Adventures in Marketing until we have sold enough tickets. We had a big name sponsor. They had paid a lot of money to be in that room to access our audience. I did not want to be embarrassed by having a half-empty room. So we did personal outreach. And the way that we did it was we each segmented our LinkedIn follower audience. And I thought, right, I'll segment mine by Scotland to begin with, by location, because this event is in Edinburgh and be easy for them to get to. Quickly realised that at that point, a massive percentage of my audience, my LinkedIn followers, were in Scotland. So I segmented it further down to Edinburgh and then Glasgow and then broadened out from there. And we prepared a message that said something along the lines of, and this was absolutely true, every time I host an event, after that event, when everyone sees the hype and the fun and all the social content and everything that happened that they've missed out on, I get messages from people saying, I wish I had known this was happening. I would have loved to come. So this is me letting you know that I think this event would be perfect for you and I would love to invite you along. And I gave them a little discount code and said, I hope you don't see this as a cheeky message. Here is a discount code for my cheek kind of thing. So you can do personal outreach, and it worked, by the way. It worked really well. We sold those 50% remaining tickets really quickly, and we were then able to focus on making sure it was a great customer experience. So you can do personal outreach in a way that feels good to you, and I apply this to all marketing. It's about putting yourself in the end user's shoes. So whether that is a lead who you're reaching out to, how are they going to feel when they get this message? How would you feel if you got a message like this? And if it's not a feeling that you want to create, then you tweak your message until it is. Video content, of course, very important today. And I think it's worth mentioning at this point that it doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, everything in 2026 is pointing to rough and raw and ready content performing better than too polished, because people think it's AI if it's too polished. So anything that you can do. I love to publish blooper reels. I did that. I host another event in London in October called Launch Like a Pro. And I did that for last year's event. I published a bloopers reel, and I did some very rough and ready content with the speakers who were going to be speaking at that event, where we all talked about being in the room. And I just did a quick video in this office of me. In fact, my daughter filmed it. She's 15. Me walking through the door, telling them about Launch Like a Pro, saying, you need to be in this room. Let's find out who else will be. And then I edited in the other rough and ready videos that the speakers had created. Now, when my daughter was filming me, and this is what I mean by the blooper reels, she filmed me realizing, I opened the door and realized that I didn't have any shoes on because I didn't wear my shoes in the house. I thought, oh, that doesn't look great for my video. So she had content of me opening the door and then looking down at my feet and going, oh, wait, I've only got socks on. And her going, oh, for goodness sake. So that went into the blooper reel and people loved that. And then it's about user-generated content. So how can you encourage people to share content about whatever it is that you're hosting? So, for example, with my challenge, it was people in between each day of the challenge, people were encouraged to tag me to share the results that they were achieving from doing the individual tasks. And we gathered a huge amount of user-generated content, testimonials, results, and that was shared at the time. And that can also be shared again. Repurposing is something that I'm a massive fan on. Happy to answer questions about how to increase your results by not increasing the amount of time you're spending and repurposing stuff. We will also repurpose that content the next time I run a challenge for the membership, because we can share the results that people got last time. My membership is not like a normal membership. Many online memberships are centered around having content in there, and they'll maybe have a theme every single month, and they'll maybe have a guest expert every single month. And there's a lot that you're expected to consume by being a member of that membership. And actually, the biggest reason that people leave memberships is overwhelm. They don't have time to do the things in there. So mine is completely different. So my messaging is around get more done without being given more to do. So that was the message that I used consistently across every single one of these tactics. That was always the thing that I was talking about when it came to selling my membership. Okay, so I'm going to give you a second example, which is my Launch Like a Pro in-person event in London that I mentioned. Again, you can check that out in the top left. So what was my business objective for this campaign? It was to sell event tickets. Somebody, one of my clients described it, who is an event specialist. She got me to come along and do a session for her last week on how to market events. And she said, I can only describe watching Nikki put this event together in 3 weeks or 4 weeks as her throwing it together. But then we managed to make it an absolutely brilliant event. I love to do things at the last minute. I am a massive planner, but I love to do things at the last minute, and I perform best when I'm doing that under pressure. So my business objective was to sell event tickets. My campaign objective, I needed to create serious FOMO. I needed people. So I'm based in Edinburgh. I do have an audience across the UK, but as I mentioned earlier, a large percentage of my audience is still in Scotland. So I needed to create serious FOMO to get people into that room. And I had people traveling down. I had people getting up at 3:30 in the morning to get the train so that they could be in that room. But that was my focus. My message, which we'll come to at the end, was be in this room. Like, you need to be in this room. And again, the marketing tactics, you'll see lots of repetition from exactly the same as I did in the first example. Podcast episodes, mine and guest episodes on other people's. Guest speakers. It's very important to me that I have a high caliber and a diverse lineup at any in-person event that I put on. So I carefully selected my guest speakers. Now, you might not think that's marketing. That's marketing to me, because that is what is going to encourage people to have that FOMO and to buy their ticket. I mentioned it on any and every live call I was on. I mentioned it across my social media. I created videos. I created a marketing pack for speakers. Now, I'm an ambassador for Adobe Express, and they flew a lot of us out to LA for Adobe Max at the end of October, which was amazing. My event this year was on the 10th of November, so I spent that entire flight, 8 hours to LA, putting together a marketing pack for the speakers so that I made it really, really easy for them to help promote my event. And that's something that I think is crucial if you're going to try and encourage other people to help you promote your things. You've got to make it easy for them. So, and I really encourage you to enlist other people to help you promote your things, but make it as easy as possible for them. So I had a Google folder. It had a Google Doc in there that said, start here. That was the title, start here. Inside, it broke down every single resource that was in there that they could use. So I had graphics with them individually, graphics with the whole lineup. I had my Be in the Room video that I mentioned earlier. I had an animation that we'd created. You don't have to go to this much effort, but if you do, you will get really excellent results. I had captions that they could use on their own socials to introduce themselves as speakers. I had emails that could do the same thing. I just made it really, really easy for them. So I wasn't going to them and saying, please, can you help me promote this? And good luck. Crack on, whatever you can do will be great. I was going, please help me promote this. Here's anything you could possibly need. I look forward to seeing it. And then I was able to chase them up and say, I'd love you to use this resource. I haven't seen that online yet. Is there any more that you could do? I was reaching out in every single community or membership that I'm part of, and I really advocate being a joiner. I'm sure FSB will like to hear me say this, but one of the things that has made the biggest difference to my business is being a joiner, getting myself into the right rooms virtually and in person, joining the networking events, joining the communities, signing up to the business support services and meeting people through their events will make a massive difference. I've just recorded a podcast episode to go out on my own podcast this week, which is talking about getting out from behind your desk and getting into the room. It's one of the quickest ways to shorten that length of time it takes to build relationships and make sales. I was creating videos, I was doing collaborations, I was getting the speakers to generate their own content, I was doing calls with them, lives with them, basically making a big noise. And the messaging was consistently, be in this room. You want to be in this room. You do not want to miss being in this room. So I mentioned this already, but the bit that people often find tricky is the messaging strategy. And people either fall into one of two camps normally, and maybe you identify with one of these. The first one is, I really don't want to be salesy, so I will talk about anything except the action I want somebody to take, whether that is to sign up to the challenge from that example, or to join the membership from that example, whatever. So camp number one is I really don't want to be salesy. Camp number two is the opposite, where they don't really know what to talk about, so they do nothing but sell. They just talk about my thing the whole time. Please join my thing. Please buy my thing. Neither of these approaches works. So instead, I want you to think about it from this angle. What am I going to say to get people interested? So your job when it comes to your marketing is to capture attention. First of all, the first thing you need to do is stand out and get people interested. And the second thing you need to do is think about how you're going to communicate it. So first of all, we've got to get them to notice you. And second of all, we've got to get them to listen to what you're saying. And the way that I recommend you do this is to do what I call go detective mode. So I mentioned that I worked as a strategist in agencies for most of my career. This is where this approach has come from. We used to work with clients, for example, the government, and we would go out and we would speak to different segments of people to find the information that we needed What did they want to hear from us? So, for example, I was working on a campaign to reduce knife crime. And so we went out and we spoke to loads of different segments of communities, and we found out what was going to capture their attention and where. How could we encourage them to support a reduction in knife crime? So, little uncomfortably close up of me going detective mode because this is what I think it feels like. Nowadays, I do most of my detective mode work online. That is not to say that I don't still speak to people, because I do still organize focus groups for my own business, for clients. I create surveys, but much of that can be done online. So whereas back in the day, it would cost tens of thousands of pounds for the government to send us out to do this research, now we have so many resources available to us online. And you can see some of those here. I won't go through all of them. This one, it doesn't have a nice logo, which I think is very odd, but this is a tool called Answer the Public, where you can type in a term, for example, online marketing, I might type in, and it will tell me the questions that people are asking at the moment about online marketing. Pinterest produces a report at the beginning of every year. That's another good one. The others are related to your own analytics and places where you can find what your people are searching for. TikTok. Now, social media is becoming much more focused around search terminology this year, which means that you need to be careful about the words that you're using, not only in your bios, but also in your captions, because people are using social media to search. And a quick example from my life, I am not a prolific TikTok user by any means, but my daughter is. And so I took her down to London for a trip for a couple of days, a couple of summers ago, and she planned our entire trip using TikTok. So she knew exactly where we were going to be. I told her where we were staying, and she knew how we were going to get to all these different places. She wanted to go to this bakery, she wanted to go to this bubble tea place. She's not into that anymore, but they were, all the kids were into that, weren't they? She wanted to go to this museum, she wanted to go to this attraction. She did all of that through TikTok, and she planned our entire agenda. Your customers are using TikTok in the same way, not necessarily to plan trips, but to find products, for example. So go detective mode in TikTok. I would choose a topic that you want to find out more information about, or something that you want to plan, and use it yourself, and that will give you a deep understanding of how people are using it. Exploding Topics is a nice and easy one. It's very passive. You can sign up for free to their email, and they send you through, I think it's weekly, you can set the frequency. They send you through the 3 trends that are exploding at the moment. Very useful, particularly for product-based businesses. Then the elephant in the room, AI. We cannot ignore AI. If you are ignoring AI, I'm sorry, you are going to get left behind. That's not to say that I encourage you to use it to write your content. I don't. Everything we do in our business starts with me and my tone of voice, but you can train AI. Probably you're already doing this, but we've also developed AI tools to support with client marketing strategies. I use it to find out the most common questions that I'm being asked. So, for example, I regularly run sessions online on Zoom, and the people who attend those sessions have given their permission for those sessions to be recorded. I use an AI tool to record and transcribe those sessions. Then I copy the transcripts after a certain period of time, normally every couple of months. I'll take all of those transcripts, copy and paste them into a Google Doc, upload that Google Doc into Claude is the one that I use. I'm just trying to think. So the transcription tool that we use is called Fathom. I'm not affiliated, by the way. And then we use Claude, but we also use ChatGPT with some clients as well. I will use Claude and ask it to interrogate the data from that couple of months worth of calls to tell me what people need the most right now. What were the questions that they asked? What topics, what categories, how could they be categorized? And then I can use that to influence the content that I am creating for the next quarter, because I know I have a deep understanding from Going Detective Mode of what my people need right now, and I give it to them. So loads of ways you can use AI to save time and to make your marketing better. Then number 2, we've got to capture their attention. So how do we do that?
The only way to learn
Here's my video.
is to be in the room. The experts are gathering for Launch Like a Pro Live in London on the 10th of November.
Last year.
Let's find out who'll be in the room.
I'm Jo Simpson, and I'm going to be in the room.
I'm Lindsay McLeod, and I'll be in the room.
I'm Lisa Johnson, and I will be in the room.
And I'll be in the room. And together we...
Okay. Don't think we need to watch that again. Hopefully it doesn't go on again. No. Then I had the animation here, secret to launching. Then I went, so this, all of this to say, you need to be everywhere. And I call it, when I'm running a campaign or when I'm recommending that a client runs a campaign, I call it all roads lead to. So when I'm selling my membership, all roads lead to that membership link. When I'm selling Launch Like a Pro, all roads lead to that link, nikkihutchison.com/launch. When I'm promoting my podcast, all roads lead to that podcast. So you have many tools at your disposal, and I would encourage you to use as many of them as are relevant to A, your business, and B, your audience. So I know that my audience listens to podcasts. So I will talk about whatever I'm promoting on my podcast. I will also promote my podcast in between those campaigns to get the listenership up. I know that my audience is interested in live events. I know that they're hanging out on Instagram. I know that they appreciate creativity and they want to see that I can create creative campaigns, so to speak, with marketing and well-branded assets. I know that they find these rough and ready videos quite fun. I know that they're on LinkedIn. So I've got that on my profile. So that was my challenge. Then the link in my bio at that time was the link to sign up to the challenge. I know that they're watching stories. I know that they appreciate well-branded graphics. So we've got to capture their attention where they are, and we've got to make the effort, just like we made it easy for people to help spread the word about whatever it is we're trying to sell. We've got to make it easy for people to see and understand what it is that we're promoting in their own environment. So we're coming up towards the end, and we're going to have a Q&A at the end, I know, but I want to leave you with some next steps. Every single time you want to market your business this year, ask yourself, why, what, where, and how? Why do I want to market my business? What is my business objective for doing this? What am I going to make happen? What is my campaign objective that I'm going to use marketing to achieve? Where am I going to make that happen? What marketing tactics, methods, platforms, channels am I going to use? How am I going to get people on board with this campaign? And messaging, how am I going to get people interested in the action that I want them to take, whether that is to buy something, to sign up to something, to recommend you to somebody. Every single time, ask yourself why, what, where, and how. And if you can create an annual campaign, and I'm going to give you a resource to do that as well, made up of, if you can create an annual plan, which I'm going to share a resource for and will be emailed out to you afterwards as well. If you can create that annual plan that is built upon campaigns that are designed following these 4 simple steps, you will have your most successful year yet, because the success of your business depends on how you market your business. Okay, I have got many free resources to help you. First up is my podcast that you can access there. I've got old episodes as well, lots of guest episodes. And this week's episode is about creating your annual plan. This is a brand new resource that we've created. So if you download this before the end of today, the video will not be there. We are uploading the video to that today. So if you head to nikkihutchison.com/plan, there will be a space for a video. head back again and refresh tonight because it'll be there. But you can get access to that annual planning spreadsheet right now. And quizzes. I also have 2 quizzes. If you are early stage business and you are looking to go from overlooked to fully booked, or from overlooked to sold out if you're a product-based business, then the first quiz is best for you, /quiz. And if you are further on and you're looking to be the standout leader in your niche, then the industry leader quiz is for you. And that one is /leader. So you're welcome to take those and access any of the resources. I'm also very active, as you can imagine, on social media. The best place to send me messages are LinkedIn and Instagram. I'm Nikki Hutchison on both of those, and I would love to hear from you. So I hope this has been helpful, and I believe we're going to have a Q&A now, so I shall stop sharing.
Thanks, Nikki. That was great. And there's some really, really good tips in there. And I'm sure everybody will have found that useful. And by the way, you're absolutely right. I'm delighted that you mentioned about being a joiner. You know, FSB's got a large number of networking events. I mentioned earlier jumping on our website and have a look at our events page. You really want to join into those events and get to expand your network. That's a great way of doing it. So thank you for mentioning that. Right. We do have some questions in the Q&A box. So I'm going to get right on with it. Okay. Does short form video drive real business results, or is it mostly an awareness play? I'm thinking of starting to do videos and also to build up confidence in front of a camera.
Great question. So it is absolutely fantastic for your visibility. And your visibility is what's going to drive real results. And I like that you mentioned you're going to start practicing and get visible in front of that camera. I'll share a quick story. When I first started this business, I started a Facebook group and I went live in that Facebook group every week for 3 years. But the first time I was so terrified, I had about 10 pages of full copy written out what I was going to say. I was in my old office. It had horrible strip lighting, beige walls, yuck. And I was so terrified that I thought I'll do a full run through. So I recorded myself for about 10 minutes and then thought, oh, that went fine. I'll just upload that video into the group, thereby completely removing any of the benefits that you get from actually going live and getting in front of more people. So everybody struggles with confidence in front of the camera. But after 3 years of going live every week, it didn't even take that long. Do you know what I mean? I was much more confident after just a few weeks. So I really do recommend it for visibility, and that will drive your longer term business results as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Is it recommended that you have different campaigns running at the same time?
Best if you can avoid. Now, the 2 examples that I've taken you through today are very front focused. So they're very forward facing. They're very public. They're on across all of your channels. That's what you're talking about publicly. You can, of course, be selling things in the background. So right now, I have got front facing campaigns happening, but I'm also selling things that I'm going to be launching soon in my DMs. When I mentioned all roads lead to, that's because we don't want to confuse our audience. It's very, very confusing. And I see this anytime I test this out in my emails, anytime I send out an email and think, I'm going to include maybe like 3 things in this email because they could join the membership and they could come to the event. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody clicks anything because confused people don't make decisions. So yeah, through repeated testing, I would not recommend this.
Right, great. Thank you very much. Do you advocate for social media advertising on which platforms for your marketing event, or only posting on social media?
Yes, I do advocate for social media marketing. We run Meta ads for most of our campaigns now. We didn't always. I grew both of my businesses to be on 6 figures without investing in paid ads. There is a lot that you can do organically. And that is also worth mentioning, because if you start running paid ads and you kind of put all your eggs in that basket and you don't have the organic marketing set up, you haven't got your profiles aligned, you haven't got everything beautifully branded, then excuse me, people are going to click on those paid ads and click away because they're not going to understand that the two are linked together. So I would always encourage you, depending what stage of business you're at, but I would always encourage you to start with organic. Make sure you're testing that messaging that we talked about. Make sure you're doing that go detective mode so that you understand what people are going to respond to. And then that will give you hints and insights in terms of what to include when you are putting budget behind it.
Brilliant, thank you. And I get asked this one a bit actually. I've had this the other day. How do you go about getting invited to speak on other people's podcasts when you're just starting out and don't have a large audience or following yet?
So it's about going detective mode and really understanding their podcast listenership. So obviously don't start with the Diary of a CEO. You're not going to get invited on that, and neither am I at this point in time. So start by maybe looking through the charts and looking at the podcasts that are a bit lower down in the charts, kind of 20 and below, let's say, in your particular niche. Listen. I get pitched. I don't accept podcast pitches. I only invite my guests on, but I get pitched all the time anyway. And it's really apparent that people haven't listened to the podcast. That's quite offensive. I find that quite offensive. You know, you're just asking for something without even giving the time to listen to the podcast. So definitely listen to the podcast first of all. And then think about what are the topics that maybe haven't been covered already. What are the angles that you've got that you not only you think are really interesting, that you've got the authority to talk about, but also that you've done your research so you know that their audience haven't been told this stuff already, or you're coming at it from a different angle and they're actually going to find it interesting. And then it's about asking. I can't tell you, I get asked this all the time as well. I can't tell you how many of the opportunities I get have come from simply asking. So we've got to get out from behind our desk, do the scary things and ask. And then it becomes, if you've done your research, you've been really thorough, you know that you've got great ideas to share with their audience, then it becomes a numbers game. How many are you going to reach out to? Maybe you'll get 1 in 10, but just keep going.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, this one's just a bit of clarity actually, and I'm sure we can answer this quickly. What was the keyword search platform called in the top right-hand corner of your slide, the one that didn't have a logo on it?
Answerthepublic.com.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Done.
Oh.
Lovely. This is a good one. We're going to keep them brief now because we've got quite a few to get through. Do you use AI to help with social content?
Yes, in the way that I've described. So
Right.
I always start, we've trained AI. So I always start with my tone of voice. So we've uploaded many, like tens of podcast episodes that I've done into AI. We've uploaded captions that I've personally written into AI, emails that I've personally written, workshops like this that I've delivered. So it's got my tone of voice, and we will use that as the starting point always. And nothing goes out from our business for ourselves or for our clients. Nothing goes out without a human eye being the final checkpoint.
Good advice. Thank you so much. Okay, how effective are blogs?
Oh, great question. So blogs and website SEO are actually going to have their moment this year, I think. So one thing that we didn't really cover in this session was PR. I'm not a PR expert, but there are lots of ways that you can generate your own PR. Feel free to DM me and we can chat about what those are in more detail. But the reason being that not only do we need to be discoverable by Google and other search engines this year, we need to be discoverable by AI. So that's called GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, rather than simply SEO, Search Engine Optimization. So yes, if you do your research, you understand the terminology that your audience are searching for, Answer the Public and those other tools, SEMrush, those are great for that. Then yeah, they can be highly effective.
Brilliant, thank you. There is so much to do with the variety of avenues to explore. How do you choose where to prioritize?
So I'm assuming this is in terms of marketing and which channels to choose. It always starts with where my audience is hanging out. So where am I going to find the largest number of my people? That's where you'll also find me doing my marketing.
Fab, thank you. Okay, if you have three different products you're selling across the same platforms, is it okay to run a campaign for each one all at the same time? The action I want my customer to take is different for each product, though.
Ooh, so when you first asked that question, I was thinking about a carousel. I'm not quite sure. So the action, as in click a different link, do we think? So click to buy each individual product, maybe?
Yeah, reading that, I would suggest it's three different products on the same platform, but
Yeah.
each of them needs somebody to do something different depending on which product they're looking to take on.
Yeah, so let's say it's a skincare brand and we've got a cleanser, a toner, a moisturizer. They're going to have to click a different link to purchase each one.
I think
Yeah,
that's what we're getting at. Yeah.
yeah, it's fine to run a campaign talking about skincare, for example. So you've got your umbrella campaign here, and then you've got your different actions underneath.
Brilliant. Okay, I think we've got time maybe for two more quick ones. What question should I ask them if I want to get help from a marketing consultant and need to find out if they are the
Ooh,
right person for my business?
great question. So if it was me, I would be asking, what clients have you worked with in a similar field to my business in the past, and what results have you got for them?
Right. Okay. Lovely. Okay. One more then. So somebody sits here saying, thank you for the presentation. But one thing that they struggle with is the execution. They're
Mm.
saying that they can have many ideas and tactics, but when it comes to execution, they just hit a brick wall. It's because they think that photos they take aren't good enough. They can't record good video content, don't like the designs in Canva. So basically, I think this is a confidence problem. I
Correct.
just wondered if you've got any advice for that.
Um, Honestly, this is a bit of a mindset issue. It's like me and that first video that I recorded the first time I went live in that Facebook group. What can you do? And when I talked about performing under pressure and being last minute as well, I have to put myself under that pressure until there is no other option than to do the thing I need to do. What pressure could you put yourself under until there is no other option? I mean, for me, not generating any revenue provides that pressure every single day. Um, and also asking myself from a mindset perspective, what's the worst that could happen? Because to me, it is worse to not put out content because you're definitely not going to make any sales than to put out content that may or may not go down well. I actually put a post out on LinkedIn and Facebook last night talking about a particular platform, and I knew that it was going to be a bit of a spicy one, but I just always think to myself, what is the worst that could happen? Am I going to get cancelled? Maybe, but as long as the content that we're putting out aligns with our values and is rooted in fact, then I think we'll always recover from anything that happens. So yeah, I would encourage you to think about what's the worst that could happen, and then put yourself under whatever pressure it takes to get your marketing out there so that you can make sales.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Right, we are out of time, I'm afraid, and there are some questions left in the Q&A box and a couple that were submitted beforehand. So as I mentioned at the beginning, Nikki's very kindly agreed to answer those questions, and we'll provide those answers with the links and the resources that we circulate after the event. So with that, time's up. Thank you so much, Nikki, and to everyone who tuned in, especially those who've asked questions and submitted questions. We do hope that you found this session really useful. And as I say, everyone who registered will receive a copy of the link for playback on the video. If you did enjoy the session, please do consider leaving us a Trustpilot review. You can find us under Federation of Small Businesses. And if you're not yet a member, I mentioned earlier, we do have some great resources. Do take the time to have a look at the FSB website, check out our member benefits and other resources that are there for you. And please do visit our various sort of links within the website, which I think you'll find useful. So with that, I'm just going to say thank you and goodbye, and we'll see you next time.